Hello, everyone. So glad you could join us today on ReachIvy's webinar on getting your essay right. I am Shyam Gursahani, a senior counselor at ReachIvy, and I will be leading this session. Our session today will cover a broad overview of the specifics you need to get in place to succeed with your essays. At the end of the session, we will open the floor for questions. So if you have any doubts, make a note of them during the session, and we will try to address them later. So, without further ado, let's go through the next few slides to decode the secrets to getting your essays right. Getting your essay right is more than simply answering the question. It's about differentiating yourself from the rest of the world, applying for your seat at the table. Even people from marketing backgrounds like me often find it hard to market themselves in an application. The natural question then is, where do we start? The most important thing is to know your profile. An essay is a part of an overall application, and it's very important to remember that. The first thing we recommend is spending a few days simply listing down every story of any significance in your life, right from school to your last job. Make sure to include challenges you faced and the actions you took and the results you achieved. Most people, after hearing the last 2 points, start penning down achievements, but it's more important to highlight your failures as well. Any event that has helped shape your life is an event that must be highlighted. Once you have done that, segregate them into three parts. The must haves, these stories need to be most certainly a part of your application. Then the good to have, these stories can be used if additional stories are needed. And obviously, the have nots, these stories should definitely be excluded. So now that you've got all these stories in place, what do? You create a distribution plan. Every school has a different application process, and they vary. There are questions in the form, there are a number of essays in the application. You need recommenders. The recommenders could be a peer recommender, it could be, a direct manager. And of course, each school has different deadlines and a number of those deadlines. However, all these different formats work towards achieving just one single goal. Every school, whether through a single essay like Harvard or through multiple essays like INSEAD, wants to understand what sets you apart. What needs to be done then? Select the stories that can be told from different parts of your profile. Example, certain stories can be left to the recommenders and don't need to be covered in your application. By doing this, we now have the hero stories that will fill your essays. Remember, these are the best stories, personal and professional. And these are the stories that are going to set you apart. Now, uh, understanding that we have these stories in place, we still, there's a lot more that goes into writing your essay. So I'm going to take you through a simple 6 point checklist that's going to actually show you how to complete your essays. Point one, pick a theme. Pick a theme for your essay or profile. Are you a winner? Are you a fighter? Creating a theme often sets a tone for the content to follow, hooking the reader into your story right from the start. A lot of students try and start the story with what the context was, but sometimes it may not be wrong to start the story with the final result. It may not be wrong to start the story with a quote, or may not be wrong to start the story with some kind of dramatic opening that further hooks the reader into what's happening next. The second point, and I often tell everyone to do this in the harshest way possible, is yes, this is a harsh test, but go through the so what test. It's important to put down everything that you write and then put it through a so what test. For example, a student once wrote, Stuck in the Mumbai rains, I walked 12 kilometers to get home. Now it's commendable. But was he the only one? The entire city did that, and some a lot more. This fails a so what test. Again, it's always important to keep in mind that while you are writing the story, the AdCom needs to still be interested in what you're writing. So make sure everything that you write makes you sound heroic, makes you the hero. And that can be done through the actions and the challenges that you had to go through in your, story. Make sure that comes out. Now, I cannot stress on this point enough, but read the question. We often create template essays. I know for a fact that several students will have a goals essay and they'll try and put the goals essay no matter what question has been asked by the school. That's obviously wrong. Schools ask you specific questions because they want specific answers. So, like I say, don't try to force fit these in every application that we work on. Schools know that, and they can easily differentiate a generic essay from one that is created specifically for them. Read the question very clearly. When you write the answer, make sure you're addressing the question in your answer. And that is one of the most important points. The next point I'd like to discuss today are goals. Now, uh, several students often wonder on what is a good goal. I think it's important to know your profile to be able to define your goals. It's important to know where you've come from and where you intend to go. Having said that, select ambitious but realistic goals. For example, if I've worked for 5 years in finance, my ambitious goal could be to, become the CMO of a large FMCG one day. But my ambitious goal cannot be to become the CFO of a large FMCG company because I have no background in finance. So make sure your goals come from where your goals come from your background and your history. When I say ambitious, make sure that the goals are ambitious to a point that they can be achieved in 5 to 10 years. Please don't select goals that are way off into the future or sound absolutely unrealistic. Unless restrictive in terms of space that you have to write your goals, always state the market opportunity and interest in your goals. When I say that, schools want to know that the goals that you've defined for yourself actually have a market in the future. If you want a future in plastics, for example, which is being banned in several parts of the world, you need to show the school that there is a market for plastics even 5 or 10 years down the line, and how you intend to tap into that market. Because you have to understand, schools are very conscious about placing their students and ensuring that their students get the best jobs after the MBA. Schools also want to know that you're moving towards something that is tangible, but at the same time worthy of their school. When I say worthy of their school, the school's reputation depends on how a student performs after the MBA. So they want to ensure that the students coming in are capable of performing in the future. The next point that I'd like to talk about are creative essays. Creative essays are a great way to say things with a creative flair. Now, um, creative essays help you stand out, and if given a choice, I would definitely pick the ones that allow you to maybe add a video or a PowerPoint presentation. Even when it comes to optional questions, they generally come with two types. One that asks for your extenuating circumstances. Skip this if you have none. No, if you've had 5 years of work experience, you don't want to talk about a couple of KTs that you had in second year of engineering. Those are not extenuating circumstances. But yes, if you have a gap year in those 5 years, then that is something that you may want to highlight. Um, Again, if you don't have a recommender from your direct manager, that is something that you may want to highlight in your additional optional questions. The other kind of optional questions simply ask you for additional information. These are a must do. You must never leave an opportunity to tell them something more about yourself. And always use every space in that application to sell. If you have 500 words for an additional optional essay, write it, fill in 2 or 3 stories if possible, and make sure the different facets of an application come through. Uh, Basically, having covered everything in terms of how to write your essays, I just want to simply summarize by saying that an essay is a medium for the school to get to know you. When I say get to know you, I mean who you are, what makes you unique, what drives you. And if you can clearly explain what these 3 things are, and if you can clearly explain to the school who you are and where you come from, you will definitely be getting your essays right. So that was a quick and short presentation. And now I'm going to move over to you guys if you have any questions that you'd like to ask. All right, since there are no questions, I'm going to close this webinar today. And it was really, really nice having you guys listen in. And if you have questions or if you come up with questions later on in the day or during the week, feel free to write in to help@reachivy.com and we'll make sure that we reply to you. Thank you.